It's one thing to say that a language influencer might not be all they built themselves up to be. Those 7 languages they claim to know might not actually be factual. But it's another still to examine how they can actually damage your language learning, and that's what I would like to speak about today. If we look at the typical behavior of a language influencer, they usually gain legitimacy through numbers, through volume. More languages equals more legitimacy in the minds of many followers. Why is the influencer game played this way? Well, there's a simple answer. There's no other way to play it. That's how you promote yourself. What else can you do? Languages are not at all a visual thing. True depth of knowledge is hidden. True depth of skill is hidden, especially from the student who can't judge either way. If you're learning Spanish, you have no way to judge if someone else's Spanish. How do you even know if my French is any good? How do you look for authority? How do you find the proper guide if you can't recognize the guide? The only proof of expertise that's left is volume, and it could be volume in numbers, for example YouTube followers, or volume in the languages learnt by that influencer. It's the main variable that you can understand. Based on this, a beginner will make 2 dangerous assumptions. Number 1, if the teacher has learnt multiple languages, they therefore become a reliable authority. Dangerous assumption number 1. And you can actually prove this in reverse. If I showed up claiming that I know 9 languages and even made a demonstration of this, it would be very hard for you to believe that it's probable that I'm not really very good at this. He knows 9 languages. How could he not be good at this? Second dangerous assumption, if the influencer or the teacher does know multiple languages, it supposedly proves that they have a way of learning that works for you, or at the very least, that their advice is worth listening to. Again, it's very hard for you to argue to the contrary. It's hard for you to finish the sentence, I believe they know 9 languages, but here's why I also believe that their advice is useless. You wouldn't know what to say, would you? The fact of the matter is that languages are very deep systems, and it's impossible to know a deep system times 5. But this truth can't easily be proven on YouTube because of the nature of this medium. So let me explain to you why volume in languages means zilch, means nothing at all. There are people in this world who study marine biology. Their whole life, it's all they do. They only study one type of starfish, or they only study blue whales. And at the end of their career, you'll hear them say they only know one little microscopic bit, one little microscopic piece of information about the lives of starfish. These are the true experts speaking. A polyglot, especially on YouTube, is the direct equivalent of the news headline that says, man has biggest starfish collection in the world, and he keeps all these starfish in aquariums, and he has over 200 of them. What does this collection prove? It proves that he likes to collect starfish, and that he has many of them. It proves that this person has a lot of time to dedicate to starfish, and he likes to fill his house with aquariums, nothing more. Just as a polyglot proves that they have a lot of time to dedicate to language learning, nothing more. It doesn't prove depth of knowledge. Now ask yourself, who has the most compelling narrative? Whose book would you rather read? The guy who turned his house upside down into an aquarium for starfish, or the scientist who spent his life in the North Sea studying one type of starfish? Which of the two has the better groundwork for a YouTube channel? So how can language influencers be damaging to your learning? When you start a language, you're developing an impression of what it means to learn one and how this is done. Your first exposure is risky because it conditions all the rest of your choices and your beliefs. If you think of it, this isn't too different from the subconscious influence of school. We all leave school with a number of beliefs, such as the fact that learning is necessarily measured in years. And in the case of languages, many people, millions of people around the world, take Spanish or French in school and leave school barely speaking a few sentences. So there's the assumption now that languages are complicated. In the case of language influencers, they will absolutely impact your self-esteem as a learner, the methods you think are reasonable, what a good learner looks like, what a good speaker looks like, what role immersion plays, the realistic results you can expect, whether you should use one source or many, the time frame you can expect, and the affiliate products you will accept. If you ever put on paper the sum of your beliefs about language learning, it's interesting to see where they came from. Why do I think what I think about languages? And that's where the risk is. You're listening to a collector of languages, a hobbyist, and you're basing your approach to languages on their hobby. That's where the risk is.